Hello and welcome to 5-Year Club video number 119, the Incremental Improvement Trap. Recently I've been seeing, and I mean I've seen these for a while, but this is just the thing that's made me in the last day or so. And I guess it's also a theme I've been thinking about in the last week. I keep seeing posts and things along these lines. I paid off a student loan early. Yay! My credit score dropped according to FICO. See pic for reasons. Does it think that I have a student loan to pay that I'm not paying? Should I contact someone who, or just wait and see? And then we've got this, there are also key score factors associated with your FICO. Copyright bank card score 8. Oh my God, the FICO bank card score 8. These key score factors are the top factors that affected the score. So this crap. But the main thing I notice here is that this guy paid off his student loan, which is awesome. Great, so he's got better cash flow. And what he chooses to post is not what should he do with his cash flow. It's what about my FICO score? Right? And, I replied to this. I said, why do you care about your FICO score? He didn't respond to me, but that's what my reply was, because I think we have to be very specific in terms of if you're on a wealth building forum and you want a high credit score, how are you going to use that credit score to build wealth? Because the credit card scheme is not going to significantly move the needle. And thinking that you can rent a car with a credit card, but not with a debit card, which is not even true. Renting cars doesn't increase your wealth. So, if you want to buy a home or a rental property, okay, cool. What are the numbers? And what are the differences in interest rates depending upon your credit score, and what are your manual underwriting options? Anyway, that was just one thing. So this guy's focused on his credit score. And then here is another thing I saw recently. Beat the Bush posted a video on building credit using a company or basically you pay the company say $500, and then over the course of a year, they get you to make payments on that $500. Sorry, let me make this clear. You give them $500. They then give you a loan for $500. You then pay back that $500 loan, and then they pay you back the $500 at the end. So it's kind of like a fake loan that you have to make payments on in order to build a credit score. To me, that's the most circuitous, dumbass thing I've ever seen. But it is something that people can do. It's one of the ways of building credit when you have horrible, horrible credit. Super contrived. I guess it shows that you can make a payment every month, for $45 or whatever it is. Anyway, beat the Bush. When I back up and I look at this video that he's posted, Beat the Bush is financially independent. His net worth is at least $500,000, probably closer to $1 million. I know that, in terms of credit card games that you can play with a good credit score, it's going to be hard to break the $5,000 mark in terms of money that you can get back from playing those games. If you say that his net worth is $500,000, then that $5,000 is 1% of his net worth. And if you say his net worth is $1 million, then that $5,000 is 0.5% of the net worth. And my point is that if your goal is to get a high credit score so that you can play credit card games to get money back, that's not going to get you to financial independence. Yeah. Now, the other thing you could argue is, and he argues this in the video, is that if you are taking out a mortgage that you're going to pay back for 30 years, then having a good credit score will give you better mortgage terms, a lower interest rate. And from the perspective of somebody in the Bay Area, I have to say that winning the housing game here is not about getting a low interest rate. Winning the housing game to get financial independence is about having a low mortgage, which is super difficult or impossible to get at this point in time. And the reason why is that a mortgage is composed of a principal payment and an interest payment. And, you'll pay the same mortgage every month, but one portion of that will be a principal payment and one portion of that will be an interest payment. You can lower the total size of the mortgage payment by lowering your interest rate, because that will cause the interest portion of that mortgage to shrink. But you can't lower it so much that it makes a big difference in terms of financial independence, early financial independence. Another way, for example, of lowering the interest payment, other than having a good credit score, is to go for a 15-year mortgage instead of a 30-year mortgage. But of course, if you go for a 15-year mortgage, you are paying back the same amount of money in terms of the same amount of debt over a shorter period of time, and therefore the payment is much larger overall. And as long as you have that $2,000 or $3,000 a month payment you have to make, that's going to put your baseline spending at $24,000 or $36,000 a year, plus whatever the taxes are. And again, the larger the mortgage, the larger you paid for the property, the larger those taxes are going to be. Even if you had an interest rate, frankly, of 0%, your payment, even though the payment is going to pay down a loan, and so in some sense it's savings, it's not liquid savings. You can't eat it. So, having that mortgage cost in the Bay Area of, $24,000 or $36,000 a year, well, we know that you multiply that times 25, and then that's kind of the net worth you need. So at 24, I think 24 times 25 is, I want to say 500, but I'm not actually good at math. No, it's 600. Yeah, I'm dumb. So my brain's not working tonight. Yeah, so $600,000 just to cover your mortgage if you're paying $2,000 a month. You would need a net worth of 600. I should have known that off the top of my head. You would need $600,000 of invested money to cover a $2,000 mortgage, and that's not even including your food. That's not covering your health insurance. That's not covering a gas or car insurance or any of the other parts of your life. So, my point is, in the Bay Area, when it comes to a mortgage, the key to financial independence is having a tiny mortgage, which means that you have a very inexpensive property. Even if you had even if you bought outright an expensive property for cash, the taxes on that expensive property are going to hurt you. I think the taxes on $1 million property, which is like a below average house in my neighborhood, is about $1,000 a month, which means that just to pay the taxes on your home, if you own that home, you would need $300,000 invested over the long run to cover that cost. And so, if you tell me, Lewis, I need a good credit score to have a lower mortgage payment to shrink that interest portion because I want to achieve financial independence, I'm like, no, that's not where the needle really needs to move. The needle really needs to move on figuring out a really cheap property to buy, or just figuring out cheap recurring housing costs in general. And I see this stuff over and over again, and I know that having a higher credit score doesn't get people to financial freedom faster. This has been my personal experience. When I purchased my condo, my credit score wasn't very good, and therefore I didn't get that good of an interest rate. But because the property I picked was very affordable compared with my salary at the time, the higher interest rate really didn't matter that much. I also started out with a 30-year mortgage because when I bought my property, I wanted to make 100% sure that I could rent it out and that the rent could cover the mortgage in case something happened to me. I didn't want to be in trouble with the property. Because I bought the property during a really depressed time, and also because I bought the property that was small compared to my income, so it's never been a strain to pay for it. That's the reason why I've done really well in real estate, not because of the credit score that I had when I started trying to get the condo. I think, I have to go look it up, but I think the credit score I had when I started trying to get the condo was like 625 or 636, maybe 675. And then maybe by the time it closed, I'd gotten up to 715. To be honest, I can't remember those scores. I could go and find them. But my point is that my credit was not stellar when I purchased the condo. And the wealth building that I've been able to do because I took out that mortgage is not due to the credit score I had when I took out the mortgage. It's due to the selection of the property in the first place. Given that this is true, and the other thing I want to say is Beat the Bush, I think, knows in his heart that the credit score doesn't really help you reach financial independence that much. The reason why he does that video, which is the same reason why you see credit card videos and credit videos in general throughout the personal finance industry, is that they pay really good referral fees. Of all the things you can refer somebody to, credit products pay some of the best referral fees. And that's why places like Credit Karma and Mint.com, does Personal Capital do it yet? I don't think I remember seeing that there, but they probably do. Yeah, all these places want to refer you to credit cards, certainly NerdWallet, because they pay excellent. It's a very profitable enterprise. So for Beat the Bush's financial independence, of course he wants you to sign up for a self-lending credit building service. Helps him to remain independent. And, everyone's got their own game. I respect that. But, okay, so this is my perspective, and I have it, and I feel strongly about it, and it's worked really well for me. I look out at people, and I see them coming back over and over again to the credit score and to the concept of building credit. And I've been asking myself, and I've been talking recently about investing stuff. I think yesterday was 150 different investment portfolios. But I have, I wanted to back up because I realized that I talk about investment portfolios, but the reality is that most people I talk to have a problem with savings rate, not investment selection. So I've felt the need recently that I need to talk about savings rate more. And that's part of this video. It's part of why today we're talking about incremental improvement. And also there's a trap involved here. So I've been thinking about why are people so focused on a credit score and not as much focused on the savings rate? Is it because people like credit cards? And why would they like credit cards? Well, credit card lets you buy something that you don't have the money for right now. Well, that doesn't exactly explain why people like their credit score, right? Because you can have a credit card, and when you use it to buy something at a restaurant, you're not calculating, the interest rate according to your credit score and how much that is relative to your bill. And, you're not calculating that. So your credit score is kind of irrelevant to that particular purchasing behavior. And so the fact that credit cards let us buy stuff we don't have cash for at the moment, I don't think that's the reason why people are so obsessed with raising their credit score. The reason why I think people are obsessed with raising their credit score, and I'd love to hear different opinions on this, is because the credit score is something where we can see incremental improvement on it, and we don't have to change our behavior that much to improve the credit score. For example, you can get a higher credit score just by changing the way you pay for certain things, not the fact that you pay for them in the first place. There's also credit score, especially when it comes to credit cards. The credit cards are attached to credit card point systems like Sky Miles. And if you wanted to increase your number of Sky Miles, there are different things you can do. Like if you have a gas-themed credit card, you can always buy your gas with that particular piece of plastic. And it doesn't require you to change your commuting behavior. You don't have to get a more efficient vehicle. You don't have to carpool. You just have to make sure that you pull out the gas credit card when you were at the gas station, and then you get some Sky Miles or gas points or whatever it is. And you get to see that number increase, that little rewards number increase. And if you pay for your groceries, for example, over and over again with a credit card, then you get to see your credit score, increase over time as you continue to make those payments. These incremental score increases and just incremental improvements in general are a big driver of human happiness and satisfaction. And this has been shown in psych studies over and over again. We are gamed by this psychology over and over again, whether it's a video game that awards you points for some kind of behavior, or one of those video games that wants to sell you the power-ups necessary to level up your character. Or, just things in your life, like if you're doing little home repair projects over time, or you have a garden and you get to see things grow and change and see the tomatoes form, that's really satisfying. If you're a movie collector and you have a DVD collection and you buy another DVD and you get to see your DVD hoard grow, that's satisfying. When we get more money, we want to use it to trade up in car or get a nicer house or go to our favorite restaurant more often. Humans really like to see incremental, slow, I don't want to say slow, but small changes of things getting better in their life. If you have somebody who makes like $1 million when they're 20 or 22, and then they never get paid again, they're going to feel amazing when they're 20 or 22. And then a year later or 5 years later or whatever it is, they're going to be like, oh, I haven't made any more money. I'm a loser. Even though they have $1 million. What the? It's an amazing amount of money. But we see lottery winners all the time get the money, and then that euphoria of winning goes away. They spend that money to try and see the incremental improvements, and they just kind of run out of money because they're not paying attention to the big picture. But the point is, humans love incremental improvements. And the credit score is a great way to show somebody that something is incrementally improving. It's great because it's easy to check now. There are apps like Credit Karma where you can check your credit score daily on your phone. And to sign up for Credit Karma, it doesn't take any effort. You just put in a little bit of personal information, and then they've got everything they need to continually check your score. Other numbers in your life that you might want to see an incremental improvement in, like net worth, well, personal capital could show you your net worth. But you'd have to know your login information for your 401k provider or your student loan provider and your mortgage provider and any other investment provider and your bank. That's a lot of people who don't remember the login for their 401k provider. So straight up, it's easier to figure out your credit score than it is to figure out your net worth. So here we have this super convenient number, the credit score, and the media is telling you over and over again that it is a key to financial success. It's easy for you to see. You don't have to change your consumption to improve it. And it's tied to things like a credit card, which are tied to things like these point systems. And there are credit cards that will give you like 2% back on purchases. And the credit card companies, of course, are happy to do this because they're charging the vendor more than 2% to run all your transactions. And so they've already got the money to give it back to you. And the vendor has already included the cost of running that credit transaction in the price of the item that you're buying. So really, you're just getting your own money back from the credit card company with that 2% back. Feelings are driving this whole thing. This desire for incremental improvement, and of course an aversion to doing anything that requires effort. I wanted to see incremental improvement myself, and of course I still do. In my 20s, the main way that I sought to see incremental improvement was by collecting things, and I've collected lots of things. Yo-yos, ocarinas, books, DVDs, what else? Pens. I've just got like so many collections that I don't even remember them all. Trick Magic card decks. Yeah. When I decided that the number that I needed to incrementally improve and pay attention to was my savings. So this is my aggregate savings. It's not my net worth. It's just the aggregate savings, because this graph is me paying attention to my behavior, not like the performance of the market. When I decided to switch from paying attention to the size of a collection and the incremental improvement on that, or a credit score and the incremental improvement on that, to my personal savings behavior, that is when I started making serious progress, very exciting progress in my financial life. So it was, about December 18th, I think, 2013. I believe that was the day that I talked to my financial advisor and told him I needed to sell a bunch of stocks to pay down credit card debt. And then my resolution for 2014 and beyond was to save a ton of money. And over the last few years, having this chart that I maintain in Excel has been a source of happiness for me, because every single month I see it continue to go up, and I have a score just like a credit score, except it's a score that actually means something. And so, the point is, we want to see incremental improvement. Seeing that in a credit score is a trap, because the credit score is not going to help you achieve your freedom. We have to figure out a way to show our incremental improvement to ourselves on a metric that does actually give us our freedom. Another thing about this chart is that it will show you entire years. And you can ask yourself the question, like, why in 2016 did this suddenly drop a bunch? Why in 2015 did this suddenly drop a bunch? And you can investigate that, and you can see, what the deal was, what happened. All right, so now what I'd like to do is I'd like to go through different ways that we use money, and I would like to ask the question, how does putting money into this area let me see incremental improvement? Well, the number one thing that Lewis thinks you should do with money is save it and invest it. And if you track those savings and investment, then you can see an incremental improvement in terms of your total amount saved or net worth, whichever one you want. And that's an excellent way to motivate yourself and have you be happy about the way that your money is being used, and whether you're making progress in your life. Second thing you can do with money is you can donate it to a cause. I've covered charitable giving in a different video. I guess you can look that up. But for now, I think it's enough for me to say that charitable giving is similar to investment in the sense that we invest money now so that later we can influence a cause that we care about. So it's great to influence that cause right now rather than later. But we need to make sure that we're not giving away so much money that we are not building wealth. We need to make sure that we're building wealth and giving to causes that we care about at the same time. A non-durable object. These are groceries. So this is stuff that is consumable. It's stuff that goes away. These also tend to generate garbage. That's, they're disposable. There are good environmental reasons to consume these more efficiently, But we are going to need to buy a certain number of groceries. We're going to need to have a certain amount of things that keep us alive. We can't see incremental improvement in them in the sense that because they're disposable, they don't tend to build up over time. I guess the only incremental improvement we would see is if we increased our burn rate on them and just bought more and more and wasted more and more stuff over time. But that's not good for our long-term goals. So I would not encourage that as an objective. We could also use money to buy a durable object. This was Lewis in his 20s, buying lots of durable objects. So collectibles, if you bought a really fancy knife for your kitchen, things that last like 10 years, 20 years, your entire life, things that have resale value. Durable objects are cool because you can recover some of the value by selling them. And in certain categories, like used camera lenses, you can recover almost all the value by selling them. However, they don't grow like an investment, so they have an opportunity cost. And in addition to the kind of investment opportunity cost, they also have a storage and maintenance cost. When you buy durable goods, they can break, and you will be tempted to fix them. And you will also need to find some square footage to store them. And in California, square footage is, say $500 to $1,500 per square foot. Certainly about $1,000 per square foot in my neighborhood. And so you have the cost of the item and the cost of the square foot where you are keeping that item and whatever, continued amount that costs you every year. So I made the mistake in my 20s of putting way too much money in durable goods, in durable objects, and now I get to sell them to try and undo some of that mistake. I don't recommend this as a major path of expenditure. An escapist experience. This is a popular millennial cause. It's also just a popular cause of people in their 20s in the first place. YOLO, you only live once. People are scared that they won't enjoy their youth. Experiences like these, vacations and restaurants, things like that, they give you memories, and memories are cool, but you can't recover any of the money. So unlike savings and investment, unlike buying a durable good, an escapist experience is not going to give you any of your value back. You cannot sell the vacation that you took 3 years ago. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do any of it. It just means that if most of your money is being spent on escapist experiences, it's going to be very difficult to be happy or to build up happiness from them because you cannot kind of aggregate them as this incrementally improved thing. All of that value just goes away. If your focus is escapist experiences, it's also a trap in terms of changing your orientation also get you also get accustomed to having these escapist experiences over and over again. You get accustomed to having the novelty. That's how you get your fix. And once you're conditioned to get your happiness this way, it's going to be difficult to stop spending money in that way and to start getting your happiness from something else. And the other thing is we can't earn money forever. And so this is also a danger in your later years because, if you don't save any money for when you're older and suddenly you have a health care problem and you can't work anymore, then suddenly your escapist experiences end, and now you have to live in the real world that's not all that novel a lot of times, and that's no fun. So we don't want our focus to be escapist experiences. We want to have some of them, but we don't want that to be the core of how we measure incremental improvement in our lives. Next category is a service that is in line with long-term goals. Gym memberships. All right, health is good for your long-term healthcare costs. It's also good for quality of life. Counseling. It's good for your emotional life and your relationships. Or a class, if you are taking some kind of class. If it's a class in a subject you enjoy, like art or music, or if it's a class for increasing economically valuable skills at work, you will be able to see incremental improvements in these different areas. You'll either be able to see your body improve, or you'll get to see your job skills or painting skills or music skills increase, or in the case of that counseling, you'll get to see your relationship skills improve over time. I mean, for me, all the music classes that I've ever taken, I don't regret any of them, because music is just such a big part of my mental life. When I walk into a room, a little theme will start playing. And it's not as boring as saving and investing above, but it's definitely a worthwhile way to spend your life. Just make sure you are using the gym if you're paying for it. I'm not using mine right now, so that's on me. $9.99 wasted a month. So I think that services that are in line with our long-term goals, as long as they are a reasonably small percentage of our monthly spending, is a good use of money. In fact, I think this is a better use of money than escapist experiences, better use of money than durable objects, better use of money than spending too much on non-durable objects. And, compared to donation, maybe you get a skill in that class that you can use to affect the cause that otherwise you would need to donate money to pay somebody to affect. So it really depends on how you use it. But I think that paying for education or services or training things that are in line with your long-term goals is an excellent use of money of anything on this list. In some ways, you can see this as investing in yourself. So certainly for people who are interested in making more money in career development, this is an excellent use of the money. And at times, this will be a better use of money than putting it into the stock market. So once again, vacations are not bad. The escapist experiences are not bad. In fact, the novelty that they provide, it slows time down. One of the questions that I asked myself, maybe a year ago, is I said, okay, if I become financially independent one day, I don't want the time to just slip away. I don't want the days to just quickly pass, because they seem to pass faster and faster the older I get. So what can I do to make them go slower? And when I did some research on it, turns out that novelty is what makes time slow down. We remember more of our life the more different things that happen. Habits are great, in the sense that habits let us get into an exercise routine that's healthy, get into an eating routine that's healthy, let us develop skills, and let us execute on a work ethic that can bring us success in the areas where we want to move ahead. But habits also a lot of times do not have a novelty, and so they put us in a flow state that can be satisfying, but it's also a flow state where you look up and 4 hours have passed and you don't remember them. And so it's important to find the balance of both in your life. It's important to strategically pick your habits, but it's also important to strategically pick your novelty, but not so important that you sacrifice your saving and investment and emphasize novelty in your life, because we need to optimize for our entire life, not just right now. And our entire life is going to include a section at the end where we're not working anymore and we need to pay for our lifestyle and pay for the basics. Therefore, we have to condition novelty on savings and not the other way around. When we look at what we spend on novelty and escapist experiences, we need to see that it is a small percentage of our savings on an annual basis. And we need to arrange our choices to make that happen. If you look at your income money and you see that your top categories of spending aren't showing you incremental improvements, it's going to be difficult to be happy in the long run. And it's going to be difficult to find joy in your money. If you look at your money and you see that buying your future isn't at the top of your spending list, then you really need to consider if you enjoy your present situation so much that you never want to change it, because you never will be able to if you don't do that savings and you don't build that net worth. All right, that is the end of 5-Year Club video number 119. The incremental improvement trap. Don't let people game you with incremental improvements of numbers that don't matter. Be intentional about choosing the metrics where you want to see incremental improvement, and that those metrics are optimized for your long-term total happiness and not just a fleeting short-term gain. Have a fabulous evening.